Welcome to a sponsored 6-part video series of Trump teachings, Gwent. And welcome to the long-awaited second video of the Gwent teaching series. If there's one Trump teachings Gwent that you watch, let it be this one, because the topic for this video is sequencing. Sequencing is the art of playing your cards in the right order in order to maximize value, and this is obviously a very large part of the game, since in Gwent, you end up playing all of your cards every game. How you milk every single one of these cards for their maximum potential is very important and is the foundation for how you advance in Gwent. This isn't a simple game of solitaire though, where you always play your cards in a certain order. Your ordering is going to change a lot based on what the opponent has done. Each card changes value based on the terrain of the battlefield. This video features the Northern Realms faction, and I'll be sporting a budget Northern Realms deck as well as a top tier list, both of which feature the Northern Realms machine and fresh crew mechanic, which requires playing your cards in the right order in order to take advantage of manning your machines. The budget Northern Realms deck has all the starting gold cards in it and has removed 4 of the starting silver cards and kept 2 of them. Replacing those cards is 2 silvers. We've got the Northern Realms card Death Mold, a really flexible and great Northern Realms card, and Mirtabrak, which is a neutral which fits well in many decks, but especially in this deck. In most decks, you're going to want to run the maximum silver count. However, as this is a budget deck, some of these bronzes are actually more powerful than the starting silvers. The next card to put into this deck is definitely the Bloody Baron, which is actually a big part of the deck, but we'll be able to get through the games even without this very tough guy. Now let's show them that even our bronze cards and basic gold cards can outvalue their cards with the power of sequencing.
You want peace? Fight for it.
Do not test my patience.
Alright, we got a Northern Realms duel. Opponent's gonna be sporting the Henselt. So, sequencing. It begins as early as the mulligan stage. And it's an important part of the mulligan stage, ordering which you mulligan, because whatever card you mulligan not only is blacklisted out, you cannot draw that copy, you can also not draw any of the same copy of that card. So you never want to draw Blue Stripes Commando in this deck, so I'm going to toss it, and any future card I mulligan cannot be Blue Stripes Commando. In a similar fashion, after that, I might want to mulligan a card that I also don't want to draw. This looks like a fairly good division of cards. I want 2 Gwent Sergeants, but I have a Reaver Scout which can get another one of those. He's summoning a bunch of guys, so the Lacerate should be good here. And everything else looks good, so I'm just going to... I'll keep it as is. So, the art of sequencing. Playing your cards for the most value. This deck wants to play the Gwent Sergeant first. It boosts all the other
Elves must die!
cards with 3 cost in your deck. Seems good. But it's always possible that the opponent will do something that you'll want to respond to instead. In this case, that's not the case. That's just a simple crewman. Looks like my play will be stronger than that. So that implies he's also playing a crewman deck.
Salutations.
This is a card that might change the order of things that I want to do. So that's a card that boosts future machines. His setup is that he wants to play both crewmen and then put a machine in the middle there. Well, I'm going to go ahead and break my usual sequence. My usual sequence would be to scout, copy the Gwent Sergeant, and then get another copy out. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and play the Ballista, playing it next to the Fresh Crew. The Crewman allows me to use the Fresh Crew ability to shoot this twice. And that's a good solid amount of damage. I'm going to try not to hit the cards with armor on them, since that does not actually affect the power level of the card. The armor is just good at dodging damage. So now that that Ballista has done damage to my Gwent Sergeant, I'm going to want to copy it before it dies. Really good for this deck to get 2 copies of Gwent Sergeant out. And I'll go ahead and place it next to this one. So future machinery that I place in between the two can get the benefit of 2 crewmen. Looks like we may both be going pretty hard in this round. So this is a good time to play Torrential Rain since all of his cards are the same exact strength.
As you command, Your Majesty.
And Rain happens to be something that is great when your opponent has a lot of similarly
You one of us
powered
or not?
creatures. He's sticking that just to be in the rain, although maybe he expected it to copy something. Surprisingly, he doesn't have a duplicate of any of these in his deck. Getting rid of the 1 is useful. In fact, evening these guys up is good. So I could turn my ballista, shoot the 1, and then shoot the 6, and then shoot the 6 again, which will match them all up to 5. With this deck, you're looking to match things up very often in terms of power. Usually, so the ballista can fire things. In this case, though, it looks like the rain will take the role of kind of just constant ballistas. And this is really good. We've managed to win round 1, but not just that, on even card parity. So we have the same number of cards. That's great. He passes because the rain is hurting him too much, makes sense. Now one of the problems with the machine decks is that you might get all the siege platforms, which are great cards, but not have a siege with them. So I'm gonna mulligan one of the siege platforms, hopefully get a bronze siege card. There we go, Ballista. Fantastic. So since all my cards are responsive at the moment, and I would not get the most value out of them, right now, all of these cards, like this deals damage to a unit, this is a chain lightning, this locks a unit, this deals damage, this returns an ally, a machine, this deals a lot of damage. It looks like my setup is way better to take advantage of playing a lot of cards, synergies and whatnot, so it's a good time to pass. Alright, so the opponent is going to enter the 3rd round with some kind of plan to Reaver Hunter. That's a good card that he operated, since this card is very bad for me, but presumably quite good for him. However, I can at least toss my Reaver Hunter and get a better card than a 4-value card, I'm sure. Alright, got the siege platform that I tossed earlier.
See me smiling? I'm dead serious.
Nasty wounds, those, but you'll live.
What do you want?
Very interesting. So the top 2 cards of his deck are these 2. Shuffled a few cards into the deck. That should be pretty unimportant. So given that I have a ballista and 3 ways to bounce this ballista, it's going to be very important that I attempt to get his creatures to be as equal in power as possible. We also know that he is going to play a Reaver Hunter, which will get many more Reaver Hunters. Which I'm probably going to want to lock. First of all, dealing 5 damage to that one seems good. And that brings it into the line of other creatures that he's got. And this is going to be a card that I'm going to want to kill. It seems like he also, based on that play, has a hand of responsive cards. I can go ahead and use Philippa Alhart. If I cast... I'll cast it on this. I could have cast it on this and then it might bounce here, but that's a 50-50. I cast it on here, it bounces either here or there for sure. But the 4 is a card I really want to get rid of.
You do not deserve to live!
That actually goes back to sequencing a bit too. Perhaps the better turn when the opponent had that and that card out I should have played Philippa Alhard on that card. Geralt is also a good sequencing card in the sense that I want to play this when I'm down by more than 10. It doesn't look like I am going to be down for more than 10, and it also looks like the opponent is playing cards that will target my cards, so playing all these golden cards makes sense.
Any last words?
Right now. I'm going to forego my chance to have Geralt be more than 10. Okay. So it looks like at some point I'm going to have to play these cards. Alright, well, let's play Ballista, I suppose. It doesn't seem like hitting that Ballista is worth that much right now, because I'll probably be getting cards down to the 2 level and then trying to Ballista them
You
down.
one of us or not?
But this appears to be the best play right now. It probably would have made more sense for him to play the Ballista next to the... Oh, never mind, he has no crewman. Alright, so it might look like I should... Oh, hey, I still have a Bootstrapes Commando in there. It might look like I should target these ones, but due to the amount of Ballista I have, I'm going to instead try to make everything go down to 1 and then finish those off with shots. So that gets the maximum value out of my Ballista, or it should rather.
I'm an officer and a gentleman.
So these platform guys are great. If I have just one Ballista able to survive all of this, and then I can hit the Ballistas, go ahead and make those all down to 1. Next time I bounce my Ballista. When a Reaver Hunter trio is completed, damage the highest enemy by half its power. So we'll lock that down since he has 2 parts of the combo. And at this point, it seems unlikely that he would have anything that would be important to lock. Actually, I can just play my single lock.
Snitches get stitches.
Men of Kedwen, attack!
This is no time to whimper. Don't recognize your old mates.
Alright, let's see if I can possibly get these down to Ballista range. So I know that last card is Reaver Hunter, which can go in any lane. The question is, should I target Troll? Well, no, there's no way I get enough damage to ever have that be important.
To the dungeon with him.
And by waiting on the Lacerate, I give him the chance to play his last card over on the Siege row as well, and then I can lacerate them. So that's all about making sure your cards have the maximum upside possible.
Let's go.
He did place it over on that side. I'll go ahead and use the lacerate on that row. And then finally 3 ballista shots.
I'm an officer and a gentleman.
So 1 on the 6s, 1 on the 2s, and then 1 on the 1s. You can see these bronze cards work really well together. That play was worth 5 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2. 13. But it has the potential to go 5 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 if you manage to ballista everything 3 times. So bronze cards in this deck can be really powerful if you sequence them properly. Alright, now let's get to the fooled version of the deck. Now you see my true strength.
Any last words?
Alright, the opponent is playing monsters. I've seen a lot of those focus on weather, which is actually a fairly tough matchup for this deck. But we'll do our best, and this deck has quite a few tricky things it can pull off. I'll hope to try to make it proud. So, as usual, I'm sequencing the Blue Stripes Commando to go first. Before I mulligan the other Blue Stripes Commando, I looked around at my hand, saw if I wanted to mulligan another card first, and then blacklist that before finally mulliganing the final Blue Stripes Commando. But I see we have the Bloody Baron in our hand, which is a card that I'm going to want to mulligan, since it gains power when it's in the deck. So it looks like the fairly straightforward line here is going to be to play the Kaedwani Sergeant into the Kaedwani Sergeant. However, the entire plan has changed because the opponent has played Yennefer the Conjurer first, so I have to turn my sequencing completely differently. That damages all the highest enemies by 1, so if I were to play Kaedwani Sergeant into Kaedwani Sergeant, not only would the second Kaedwani Sergeant not buff the first Kaedwani Sergeant, but Yennefer would immediately deal 2 damage. So in this circumstance, I'm going to want to make sure that I have a high card blocking the way for a while. Sarah is my highest card. Now the question is what I'm going to throw away. And the answer is Mirktabrock, because I don't want to risk drawing a bronze. Alright, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to shuffle it so that Yennefer only hits my strongest minion, my strongest unit for a little bit, just a little bit more.
You shall die, worm.
Alright, as expected, there's a bunch of weather going on here. But I do have the One Clear Skies effect in this deck. And, kinda good, I have the Blue Stripes Commando left over to block Yennefer.
Well then.
I have to constantly sequence things now in order to try to stay with exactly 1 unit which Yennefer hits. The scary thing is when I have a bunch of units which have the same strength, and then Yennefer will get a lot of value, but right now it's only getting 1 a turn, which isn't that bad. It was very important to skip the usual sequencing that I would usually do by just playing Kaedwani Sergeant, Kaedwani Sergeant. Game plans change when the opponent plays a rule-changing card like that. So right now the opponent is ahead by 20. That is a lot to be ahead. And the opponent has a Weather out, and the opponent has Yennefer out. This is looking like an awfully tempting pass. This deck's goal is to kill a bunch of weak minions, but I don't currently have a way to do that, so I'm going to pass it over. To lose when the opponent's played 2 gold cards and some of his most powerful effects like his leader card, I'll take that as a win for this, even though Bloody Baron didn't get buffed at all. And I'll toss the Bloody Baron back. Good, I didn't draw the bronze muster guy.
Stand and fight.
Our Blue Stripes Commando, I mean. Okay, that might be the extent of his turn. I wouldn't be surprised by a pass next. So, in order to stay ahead in terms of tempo, perhaps I should play Radovid, but that loses out on a little bit of tempo. So I'm going, loses out on a little bit of value not hitting another unit of his. I'll split the difference by playing the Reinforced Ballista. It might look great to play Kaedwani, play Reaver Scout on this Kaedwani Sergeant, get another out, but the problem with that is then I would have, I wouldn't have a higher strength unit covering. Now this is a good half measure in the sense that I'm damaging the resilience unit, but also I'm trying to make sure that I get the opportunity to play Radovid later. There's still the potential that I can simply nuke down the Ekamara over time. And we'll go ahead and begin that. So there's a good, and I'm gonna go ahead and put everything on the same row. This is good, this is a decent setup. I'm setting up the 2 crewmen, and also the weather is only hitting one of the rows. So that Gold Weather is only dealing 2 damage to my board each turn as a result. I can once again return that, but I don't have to rush on that because this will still be around the next turn. I'm going to take this opportunity to lock down that Resilience card. Now that there are 2 targets to target, so I can swing the Strength by 8. Oh, a bear. And now that Reinforced Ballista will die the next round, this is the right time to pull it using the siege platform.
I'm an officer and a gentleman.
And I'm going to be aiming to line these 2 strengths up so that the Ballista is going to be able to deal maximum damage to them later. My Reaver Scout can copy a Kaedwani siege platform as well. And I can also, at the very least, copy Ballista. I don't believe I ended up killing many units, so the Bloody Baron will not be very powerful. I might mulligan the Bloody Baron back to the deck in this case. The opponent's played a lot of things that I've had to change my kind of game plan and change my order of things for. So Bloody Baron is only worth an 8 here. He's usually worth more, but the opponent didn't play that many units that I could kill. And I do have the endgame Thaler and Villain Trettenmirth combo. So we'll toss the 8. Nice card. So all of these cards are in response, other than exactly Villain Trettenmirth, but I'd like to play Villain Trettenmirth as my final action, so I'll play Thaler first, I suppose. Oh, but I might draw the Bloody Baron. Given that the first time that the Ballista fires it's only 1, I'm going to go ahead and play the Ballista out. Well, there goes the Ballista. So that is now going to make Kaedwani's siege platform not very strong. And Reaver Scout also will no longer have a target. But I can still Thaler into one of my other machines. There's still 1 of each in the deck. And I'll take it. Now, I suppose.
Mean they've not forgotten me. That's nice.
I'll take Lacerate. So I think Lacerate will get more value than the 8. No, I actually don't. I'll take Bloody Baron. Go ahead and play this card that can't be played around. So, I do have the Myrtabrock, which is going to be able to potentially knock down Thaler down to a 7, and maybe I can clear off multiple 7s with Villain Trettenmirth. Quite possibly, yes. Currently, if I deal 4 to this and 1 to that, that clears off all of these 7s. These 2 cards are extremely awkward, but potentially, by having the last say here, I'm going to be able to swing this game by the 21 points that these 3 cards are. And right now, I'm only down by 22. Even though these 2 cards are quite valueless, maybe there's some potential. The opponents just set that to 11, so now these 2 cards are going for 22. So right now I'm basically at 38 to his 47. It's very unfortunate that I happen to have 2 cards that are fairly pointless right now.
You one of us or not? That's still gonna do it though.
some of these cards missed out on the value, but the villain Treadmirth and Co managed to work it out. Whew. So, that's the power of sequencing. It's worth mentioning at the end, when the opponent was holding just one card left, I could have played the 1 power Reaver Scout instead of the 5 power Kaedwani Siege platform. So even there, that's a sequencing thing, in which case he would have been forced to Alzur's Thunder, my Reaver Scout, only taking out 1 point instead of 5 points. And there's all of these small plays. I'm sure that was not the only misplay there. Very sharp play, and sequencing your cards, not only for your own game plan, but also to try to deny your opponent's game plan, is extremely important in this game. Always have a glance at the ever-shifting battlefield, and make sure you're able to plan out your moves in advance.